Welcome back. Replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell secured GOP votes to move ahead with a replacement for the late Supreme Court Justice. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she will not rule out using impeachment to halt a potential vote over the weekend. President Trump welcomes the challenge during a campaign rally in Ohio. Watch.
Now they want to impeach me again if I nominate somebody, as I'm constitutionally obligated to do, to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. Go ahead, and I want them to do that. I'm the only guy in the world that could get impeached for trying to fill a seat in the Supreme Court.
President Trump says that he will reveal his pick by Friday or Saturday this week. Joining me right now is commentary writer at the Federalist, Emily Jashinsky, and former Trump national security official Michael Anton. Great to see you both. Thanks so much for joining us. Emily, let me get your take first off in terms of the president's obligation to name a replacement and whether or not the Democrats have a case here in terms of saying that they'll move to impeach.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they have a case on impeachment in terms of principle or in terms of politics. It'll be kind of fascinating to see if they learned their lesson from the entire impeachment fiasco earlier in this presidency. The lesson that they should have learned is that there were excesses of their anti-Trump obsession. But, you know, I haven't seen them learn a lot of lessons over the course of this presidency from their errors, which they have made. And so I don't think they have a good argument in terms of politics or in terms of policy. Something that scares the living daylights out of me is that we are looking at a possible Bush v. Gore situation again, where we're going to need the court to make a important and urgent decision after the election, and it should be operating at full capacity. I think when the president uses language like his obligation to fill the vacancy, that really works with voters. So I don't think on either the principle level or the policy level, this is a good argument for the Democratic Party.
Well, it's just incredible, Michael, because, you know, we know how close the polls are. And if we were to have a contested election, what happens then? Who's the ninth voice? What happens?
The ninth voice will either get confirmed before this election or not. You know, another not much talked about power, and I personally hope the president names a strong nominee and the Senate acts on it, and the Senate has been speaking confidently that they have the votes and they can get this done before the election. But if they don't, the president does have the constitutional power, if the Senate goes into recess, to make a recess appointment to the court to ensure a 9-member court in the post-election scenario to make this ruling. That recess appointment would last until the end of the next Senate session, which would be late next year, and or until the next president, whether that's Donald Trump reelected or Joe Biden, replaces the justice. So one way or another, this president has the constitutional power to appoint another justice of the Supreme Court and ensure a 9-member court for whatever post-election scenario unfolds.
Well, of course, the latest polls from Politico Morning Consult and Reuters Ipsos both show a majority of voters support waiting until after the election to pick a Supreme Court nominee. Michael, what do you think that says?
I think, though, you know, whether those polls are accurate or not, and we've seen in recent years, above all the 2016 election, polling not necessarily being super accurate, but the polls that matter are elections. And the last two elections are 2018, voters returned Republican control of the Senate. They reaffirmed Republican control of the Senate. 2016, voters elected Donald Trump to be president of the United States. Those are the two most recent elections. They give the executive branch to a Republican to appoint constitutionalist Supreme Court justices, and they delivered the Senate to the Republicans to confirm constitutional Supreme Court justices. We don't govern by opinion polls, we govern by elections. And the last two elections show that the voters want the Republican Party to make Supreme Court appointments and confirm them.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's an important one. That is not the way we govern. What about governing right now, Emily? There's a fight over government funding. This is another issue, and that's why markets are reacting the way that they did yesterday. House Democrats are prepared to introduce a short-term spending bill to keep the government open through December 11th, but it does not include a White House request for farm aid or additional school lunch assistance. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell calling the bill, quote, shameful. Does anything get done in the face of this absence on the Supreme Court? Will we be able to avoid a shutdown? End of the month is the deadline.
Yeah, I think we will be able to avoid a shutdown, but it's such a shame that we have to go through this every time, every fall, and every time we need to get legislation passed by these deadlines in terms of funding, because they just play politics with it. Nobody can agree on any of it. We end up funding the government to a massive tune that just leaves us all further in debt for decades and decades to come. So, no, these fights are so ridiculous. It's so exhausting. I think if the American people were here in Washington, D.C. and, saw what was happening behind the scenes, they would be even more exhausted by the entire process. But I do think we can expect a deal to be made on this, because I think both parties are eager to move on to the confirmation battle and to move on to the election in general. And, maybe that's not everybody's job in the House and the Senate, but there's a lot that goes on for these lawmakers during election season, whether that's campaigning or whether that's, spreading their party's message. So I think both parties want to move on, and they will come to a deal on this.
Well, you would think so. Emily Jashinsky and Michael Anton, great to see you both. Thank you so much. Of course, we'll keep following it. Stay with us. We'll be right back with a lot more.